Welcome to House Group. Hopefully you're doing great, and thank you for being here in person, online, whatever it is. We hope that over time this becomes valuable to you. Now, when all this quarantine stuff started, we had a lot of time on our hands, didn't we? And inevitably, we got bored, so we had to figure out some way to spend our time. So, people started spending a lot of time with their hobbies. Maybe yours is playing NBA 2K or Fortnite, Call of Duty. Perhaps your goal during this time was to become TikTok famous. Now, I hope it stays around for you. Don't know anything about the government spying weirdness, but really hope it stays around for you so you can become famous. Maybe you got painting, or you picked up painting. Perhaps you just decided to FaceTime a friend for an absurd amount of time. Maybe you picked up something like yoga or knitting, maybe, or crocheting. Perhaps, and this is one of the ones I saw the most, baking sourdough bread. And I wanted to do something with my time that would be good for me, not just fill time, would be good for me. So every evening, after staring at a computer screen for what seemed like 37 hours, I decided to go on a run. Running was going to be my new hobby, all right? And I quickly found out that there are two kinds of people in this world. People who are good at running, and me. Okay, and no matter how hard I try, I just don't get better. I suck at running. Honestly, I've gotten worse over time, and I don't even know how that happens. And when I'm running around my neighborhood, and I've had many people from church, some of you stop and yell out your car window at me to just give me encouragement, which is not encouragement, by the way, and you know that if you've been running and somebody's yelled at you. And this thought has come across my mind. Will this ever end? Because sometimes it feels like 3.1, the 5K, a 10K, whatever you're running, or even just a mile, it feels like it's never going to end. And right now, with all of the crazy, I'm asking the same question about more than a 5K, right? When will we get a break? When will we get a chance to put our hands on our hips and catch our breath? And it feels like we're running right now in life, a never-ending race. And it seems like we have a long time till the finish line. So how do we run well? How do we keep the right pace to not sprint the marathon and tire early? How do we stay healthy? And the tagline of the next few weeks is kind of the key word to run well in life's race. What is it? And the answer, it may surprise you, it's called discipleship. Now, that's a word that we don't hear much. It sounds archaic, it sounds old, but the definition is simple. It's an imitator, a learner. It was a concept developed long ago. It was prevalent in Jesus' day, where a learner, the disciple, would model the practice of a mentor, which is the disciple-er. Okay, but even today, we see this all the time. Okay, think about influencer culture. Use my discount code and get 15% off. Okay, sports. Maybe you've modeled your game after a particular athlete. No matter what you put your mind to, education, the arts, sports, we're all modeling, imitating, or disciples of something. But the question is it the right thing? And will it help us run well in life's race? Now, if I said $100 to the person who can give me the answer to this question, and I don't have $100, I have $1 because, COVID, okay? But the answer to this question, which word occurs more in here? Would you say Christian occurs more, or the word disciple? You don't have to answer that out loud, but what would you think? Believe it or not, it's actually not even close, okay? The word Christian only occurs 3 times in here, while disciple is found 261 times. Now, there's nothing wrong with the word Christian, but Jesus doesn't say before he leaves the earth, go and make other Christians. He says, go and make disciples. And as we study this, we'll find very quickly that Jesus didn't call us to be good, to be a good person. He called us to be his disciples. And in groups tonight, I want to talk about one step. How to start this discipleship process. It's one step, but it's a big one. And if a disciple is a learner, an imitator, a fellow disciple, a guy named Paul gives us a format for how to take the first step. It's Ephesians 5:1. It says, therefore be imitators of God as beloved children and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. He says, be imitators of God, like a kid imitates their dad. And I know that there are a variety of experiences with the presence or lack thereof of a father in some of your lives. But today, in God's eyes, your heavenly Father, you are a beloved child. And a dad who is worthy of his kids' love knows that he must be an example, because what he does, they will do. And Paul says, if you want to be a disciple, you imitate God. And then he says to walk in love. Now, Jesus never walked without love. You can't find an example where he talked crap about somebody or made fun of someone or was filled with hatred. He walked in love. Can you imagine 2020 if we walked in love? Right? Now, how do we do that? Right? We follow his example. He says, as Christ, that's an example, as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. Disciples follow the example of the discipler. Because he loved, we loved. And then Paul finishes with this. It's kind of weird. He says, a fragrant offering. It's how he describes the love of God, the sacrifice of God. A fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. It's kind of a weird one to end on. But I want you to think about this. The idea of a fragrant offering, okay? Jesus gave himself up as a sacrifice. That's what that fragrant offering was. And when you think about something being fragrant, it fills the room. Maybe it's a great candle or a great meal, right? We've all experienced that. And if we're supposed to imitate him, that means that when we walk into a room, and I'm not going to say, smell like a Christian. That's creepy. I know some Christians that smell terrible, okay? So I'm not saying smell like a Christian. But when we walk into a room, there should be evidence that we are a part of that fragrant offering, that we have been with God. Now, how does it help us right now? Because you, yes, you, not just the person next to you, but you, have an opportunity right now for your generation to be great. I don't say that flippantly. I want you to know that right now, what you're going through, like the way the world is right now, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, is not normal. Okay? And you're going to be a tough generation as a result of that. But what if they didn't just see a generation that had X, Y, or Z taken away, canceled, but a generation who has their hearts set on God? They become disciples of him. And when they look at you, they see imitators of the one that matters most. They see imitators and disciples of Jesus himself. Guys, in the race of life, it's a long one. And you cannot sprint a marathon, but you can, step by step, walk in love. And the only way we walk in love is if we simply say today, I'm going to try this discipleship thing out. And your group is simply going to talk about what that could look like for you. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. Okay? We say all the time, this is for everyone, and we mean that. But I promise discipleship, imitating the right thing, walking in love, can change everything for you. So enjoy your time in your group, and we'll see you next week.